why sharing knowledge and continuing education matter in the AEC industry. Let's get into it. Welcome to What the RFI. I'm Matt Brennan, and this is the podcast all about CA. So today's episode is a little different. You know, in the past, we've talked all about CA. We're still going to do that today, but we're going to dive into the mentorship. And better yet, we've got a guest, Kristina. And of all the experts in the industry, I couldn't ask for anyone else to be better on the show to talk about this because, you know, I'll let you kind of go into your history and everything about and all the user groups, and you can explain that. But before I even let you introduce yourself, I love the story how we met. And, you know, all it started at Autodesk University, you know, a few years back in beautiful Las Vegas, you know, and, you know, what a great event. I don't know if you want to share news and how we kind of came together, but just bumping in and just look how relationships bonds through these network opportunities. So, but at this point, I would say, yeah, enough said. Let, you know, Kristina, take away. Tell the beautiful people who you are.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I never expected. I'm just a passionate person. And sometimes it's nice to hear how other people perceive that in reality, right? So my name's Kristina Youngblut. I have been in the industry for over 25 years. I currently am a BIM coordinator with SEMA Plus. It is an engineering firm located in Canada, and we support Canadian contracts from coast to coast. So, and I've enjoyed that job for about a year and a half now, and it's been an exciting addition and evolution in my career, and is really fostering my passion and commitment to continuing education and sharing knowledge, but because of what it provides me, which will come through in the rest of the conversation as well. So, and so how I kind of got into all of this, and I know we'll have other questions later, but it was asking questions myself. You know, I was curious about things, you know, software's not working for you properly. I'm trying to problem solve, you know, design situations in some project you're working on, and just going online and trying to find this information and realizing that not a lot of it was out there. And it was really hard to find these answers. And I was just like, okay, all right, well, that's fine. So I figured out, you figure out the problem, and I just share that back. Regardless if I was the first person to share it or the 50th person to share it, I would still put it out in a new format because I have a unique personality, and I can put my own little flair and spin on things that make it more engaging and more inclusive. So that's kind of what I started doing with no intention of what it would evolve to over the last few years. I really was just doing it because I gained new knowledge, making sure it's available for other people. I don't need people to do what I've done. I want them to take it and evolve and grow it into their own thing, but, you know, come back and share it with the rest of us, you know, that evolution. So it was just, I stumbled. It was a random thing that just happened.
But I appreciate that of you, because the reality is, like, software is limited, and, you know, especially with some of the big softwares that we're tied to, we can't get away from it. And we are limited to what we can do. Our, you know, as designers, architects, engineers, consultants, you're trying to push the boundary. And the thing is, you didn't say, "Well, doesn't do it. I guess I can't do it." You know, like you, it doesn't stop you. You just keep driving through and going, "What can we do? How can we push the software differently? What tools do I need to kind of bring it into it?" And that's where you're exactly going. So yeah, I know. I just wanted to compliment you on that respect.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And another thing people don't realize is an expert is not 100% expert. For software that I use, and I'm celebrating 30 years. Nobody do the math. Just don't. 30 years of AutoCAD this year.
Yeah.
And 30 years of AutoCAD, an intense, very deep AutoCAD that most people will never touch. And I still tell you that I only know 50, 60% of the software.
And you still using AutoCAD today?
Every day. It's actually ridiculous. Okay. I love it. But it's not my only platform because I am in BIM services. So, you know, that is how, you know, I have the connection to CA, which we have the ability to talk about today. So you don't need to know everything, but you need to be curious enough to seek new answers. And, you know, the software doesn't need to do exactly everything, but that's not going to stop me from adopting it, learning it, and then as it evolves or I figure out new ways to take advantage of it, that's where innovation comes from. So, yeah.
100%. And yeah, I totally agree. Like, I can't remember where exactly it came from, but it was always, you don't need to be an expert, but just surround yourself with amazing people. And the stats show that, the more, the higher end people that, the amazing people that you put, experts in the field, you become like that, versus if you surround yourself with people just at that lower level, you never grow. Like, I always tell him, like, my son's playing pool, right? And I love pool and everything. And he's like, oh, how come I can't beat? I'm like, well, you got to surround yourself with people that, eventually you'll beat up to me. And then you got to play someone better than me. So you never get to that stalemate. You always got to do it. It's the same thing with, education and surround yourself with amazing people, because you don't need all the answers. That's not what the world's working from. And that's a great segue here into like why sharing knowledge, continuing education matter in the AEC industry. And, you're so well connected in this case. You're part of a ton of user groups. What got you into these user groups to begin with?
So seeking knowledge, really. You just type into your Google algorithm what you're looking for, and people are always like, how do you know what to find? Literally type whatever you're thinking and start there and evolve from there. And so you would stumble upon user forums, Autodesk uniforms, Augie user forums, BIM coordinator summits, my friends, and I can never get I'll get to it later. I have a lot of people. I didn't know the people at first. I was seeking answers, and you grow those relationships because you start asking questions, and somebody was really kind and was like, okay, I don't know the answer, but hey, let's work on it together. And that's kind of how it evolved. And even how we kind of met, it was, there was that similarity in like our passion and our constantly like seeking information, that we were able to really connect. And like our first conversation was very exciting, because it was like, okay, because you had, we were talking about, am I allowed to say the software?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. We were talking about part 3, and I love AR integration and the way that tool integrated with the construction design and bridging that gap between the designers and the CA team. It's such a beautiful transition between them. So I wanted to know more, because how can I work with my teams? BIM services is not just the designers. I work with project managers to the construction team. I talk to everybody because everybody needs help. So how do I carry those conversations, and what tools and solutions could I use? So the user groups came that way, just very organically, because where are the answers you're looking for? Generally, we're a bunch of group of people like yourself are trying to find answers to their questions and then work together. So I don't have a favorite, because they all have different values.
Are you sure? No, it was always some favorite,
No, because I get, right? No, so it's because I have different reasons for being at each one. So maybe if you had a specific specialty, you might be more focused to one area. But again, BIM services, I don't have to be an expert in everything, but I have to be curious enough to talk to all of you, to understand the workflow, to understand the picture, because I need to be able to navigate that data. It's the data flow of your project. So I needed to understand that, because what a project manager needs to what a designer needs to what a contractor needs are not the same thing, not even close. But what is the same? It's the data. So that's what really drew me into you. I didn't know your personality at first. I was curious about your passion about a software you were selling, and it was like, how are you so passionate about but it's because you believed in it. And
100%.
You were more than just that software. You were about the people, and you were about giving people the tools and resources that they needed to evolve and expand. And that's what drew me in. So, and I think that's kind of where this dynamic came from.
Yeah, 100%. No, and it is so true. Like, because I've been in the industry for 22 years doing it and loving it. And like I said, the software drops on my plate. I was like, no, I do believe in this. I used it for 2 years, and it changed my professional career. And, the average user, they know, the listeners of this channel, to this podcast, they've heard that story. But yeah, it is over. I would say since we met, I've probably met with over 1,000 architects, over the last, 16 months. And it's been so cool to hear their story. And they're all still stuck in the days of Excel and at the mercy of the contractor. And it's like, there's better way, guys. And at the end of the day, like one of the little slides that I've been doing when I talk to people, I've kind of like people buried in their RFIs in their desk and it's black and white and it's just not a pretty picture. And then the next picture is like the people on the yacht or playing tennis. And it's like, who do you want to be? Right. Like we both share the same amount of time day to day. And it's like, how can we be better at it? Right. And that was the same thing when Revit came out. It was a disruptive technology. We were using AutoCAD every day to draw stuff. This technology comes out and our teams went from 10 people to draw a high rise to 2, maybe 1, right? Because of the power that the software was doing. And it was just a different way. Again, the time it took was less, maybe even the same time, but less people. It's just more efficient. And that's where, and we'll get into it today about AI, because that's always a fun topic as well. But it's the same thing. There is some AI tools that work, but again, you're the driver, you're the conductor to this method, right?
Yes. And I'm the human. It's the tool.
Yeah. Exactly. And again, everyone's all afraid of AI in that respect, but it's not going away. It's going to be here. It's going to evolve. And yeah, you were striked a little note at me. And someone told me this before, and I've started actually doing it, but you said when you like need an answer, you go to Google and you type it in, right? Have you started trying that with ChatGPT?
I have.
Yeah. And what do you find? What are you liking better? Are you enjoying Googler and trying to get all these random web pages, or are you finding ChatGPT is giving a more direct approach?
I use more than those as tools. I use them in collaboration together because I understand the value, or maybe I don't understand it how somebody else does, but to myself, I will always evolve. I'm always seeking something better. I assume that I'm an idiot. That is how I go into my day, because there is always something, but there's always more to learn. I don't know your job. I don't know that guy's job. I do not know how to put a proposal together for a contract. Right. So I can't know everything. So when I'm looking for stuff, I take advantage of everything, but then I also cross-reference and review and analyze. I don't take it at face value, not even the stuff I find off the internet, because I have found things written by people who know what they're talking about, but maybe, they just kind of, just one idea went in the wrong direction, not the wrong direction, in a different direction. And now this doesn't make sense. So, okay, I'm going to go and look up other things. So my answers aren't singular, it's very granular. And that's how I used software to find things as well. And I've learned to not really trust AI systems, because I trust it, but also I've asked it to write list routines for AutoCAD. And I'll ask the exact same question to multiple different interfaces, and they'll usually give you a different answer, and like 1 out of 6 work. It's better now. It's definitely better now. They're getting more accurate. The programming aspect is getting better. But you still have to validate. You still have to review. It's just a tool. So, like, I have pros and cons. Yeah, you've got to be willing.
Oh, 100%. Like, even the program, like I use it every day. Like I'll write up scripts, hey, I respond in emails. Sometimes I'll run it through, but I'll take the first crack at it. I'm not just going to let it do it.
100%.
And then just see it. Sometimes it comes back with some ideas like, oh, I like what you're doing. I like where you're spinning this and that. But again, even mundane tasks like this, like I'm going to get a nice transcript from this, from using this tool called Riverside to do this recording. It's going to give me show notes, which are pretty much bang on. We could rewrite it to the cows come home at the end of the day, but it's doing the job. It's doing that transcription. And I think those are the things that we can get into those habits. That's where you can help speed up your job. It's not going to,
take your job.
It's not going to take your job, but it's going to just help you in that sense. And just, again, it goes back to the time. Do you want to transcript this, this podcast, or do you want to go do other stuff? I want to go do other stuff, right?
I want to be on the yacht playing tennis. No,
exactly. We could do both. So I like that idea.
But you hit something that I feel strongly about the AI system is I use it for an assistant. So it's just, I don't usually have a lot of people to talk to or bounce my ideas off of, because people are always like, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? And it's just like, you don't think about this stuff? Okay. So if I'm working, I will just start by saying, I'm going to give you a bunch of notes. I don't want a response. Just please accumulate my data. And I'll start my chat that way. And it's like, all right, please provide the information. And I'll just research, type in my notes, research, type in my notes. And they'll say, please give me a summary of the information that I have just given you. And it'll give me a summary. It'll be like, okay, well, I'm trying to do this. Can you ask me some questions? And then I can answer to help build this out. And then it'll ask me some questions and I'll do something. I use it as an assistant because I don't have an assistant and I can't afford an assistant.
Nope.
So other people are going to use AI however they need to. But once you realize that the tool is made to support you and to help you, and you take advantage of it, it's not real. It has no feelings. Don't be upset if you have to. I've sworn at it. I yell at it. I said, this is stupid. I don't want this. And like, I treat it like it would be, you know, I don't treat people that way. You know how nice I am. But I'm not polite with it because I don't need to be polite with it. Actually, I'm Canadian, so I still even write please.
Oh, please. Yeah, I've done that a few times. Can you please write this? And it's like, it has no feelings. But yeah, no, I've done the same thing.
Oh, gosh.
But speaking of no feelings, that's a great segue into CA. How are you getting a lot involved in the CA these days? Are you working with groups that have the CA kind of going?
So it has been growing more and more that I've been expanding my resources at work. So SEMA is a massive company and we have a ton of employees, and I am assigned to currently like 90 projects because BIM services, I'm not doing the design. So I'm in there supporting you across the board. Please make sure you give me your project number when you call.
Right. Yeah. Out of all that, that's a lot. So you're just kind of, you're floating between each one, assisting, helping on making sure that they're following this, from a quality control.
And they have the data that they need. Yeah. Or like, so my integration with the CAs have been growing the last few months, and I've been building a relationship with them. And originally it just started with desktop connector. Some people's desktop connectors, cache just need to be cleared. And I was just easily available. But I'm very personal. You call me and I'm going to make you feel good. Not because that's my job. I genuinely want you to be okay. Yeah. If you're calling me, you're not calling me because you're having a beautiful day. You're calling me because it's bad and you need somebody to help get out of it. So that's something, unique to BIM services. Like, you're almost a therapist, like in a sense, for the AEC.
Referee, and
right. So I'm supporting the construction team, and it's growing. So right now it's still in its infancy because you have to build that trust. They weren't used to talking to somebody in my role, in my capacity. So you got to build that new collaboration, that new connection with them. And it starts with trust, and it starts with understanding, and it starts with listening. What's your problem? How can I help you? And being in BIM services, that's data centric. So what are they generally looking for? Data. So we're just, I'm just whatever you need, let me help you find it. And now they don't have to go bug a project manager who doesn't understand. They understand a lot. Sometimes I can't believe what a project manager has to do. But when it comes down to the design portion, that's a lot more. So that's where I'm coming to bridge that gap between our designers and our construction team and making sure that they have the resources that they need. What do you need? What do you even need? I have no idea. Please tell me. And then I will make sure that we can produce that for you. So something I like to tell people is somebody else shouldn't have to do something to use your work. You are responsible for your own work. When I hand it to you, you should be able to just do your job, because my job is to make sure you can do your job. So if you have to redo my stuff, I did not do my job properly.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like you walk in my office and say, hey, Matt, there's all this, all these problems. And then you walk away and it's like, hold on, these are not my monkeys. You're going to take these back with you. And this is your thing. And that's exactly what you're kind of saying is that, you're hey, I'll help you assist, but I am not taking over that ownership of that. That's still your ownership. You got to follow through. And if it's not done by that 5 o'clock deadline, you might be staying late, right? But I'm not going to take the ownership of it, right?
No, and you have to take ownership. Oh,
100%. Yeah.
And taken away that bias around it. Like, well, I did my job, then they should just do theirs. And I know most people don't think this, but there is that mentality out there. It's like, no, take pride in your work. Be respectful of what it is, because that is a reflection of you. So if I have to constantly clean up your stuff, if I constantly have to fix your stuff, I'm sorry, but that's going to be my opinion of you, is how I have to deal with what information I get from you. So I try and do that myself. And, you know, even I fail at that sometimes, because no one's perfect. I forget to do things. I mess up a lot. So we all mess up a lot.
Well, 100%. Like over the last, you know, probably decade ago, I think, you know, empathy is something that I never really understood what that word was before. Right. And now I'm really starting to take it. And I think like Simon Sinek did a lot at Brene Brown. You know, they've got a lot of great, you know, episodes and books and all about that, and, you know, kind of what empathy is. And it is really like when someone is making a mistake, rather than kind of getting on them, is just going, what's going on? You know, like, why is this not working? You know, help me understand. And you know, everyone's story is different, right? Now we're going into a counseling session with this podcast, but the point is it could be something much deeper that, like, there could be a reason why. And it's, you know, basically crawling into that hole with them and kind of going, what's going on? How can I help you? You know, you've got such potential, but you got it. We're going to do this together. We're going to sit in this hole together, and we're going to get you out together, that kind of stuff. And again, it ties into that. But I think that's really one thing kind of, you know, sparked my interest as when you were talking. And I think it's so cool that you are being pulled in all through these different projects, you know, again, 80, 90 projects here, in different life stages of them, like from the early days of schematic, them drawing just simple boxes, doing shadow studies, to, hey, we're in CDs now. So now thanks for drawing this crazy box in the sky. How are we actually going to build it? And now and how do we model in Revit and all these programs? And, you know, again, even the middle of the fun presentations and the renderings. And then, like I said, you're into the CA side where they're doing it. And now they didn't, you know, unfortunately, a detail didn't get drawn during the time and RFI was triggered. You come in, you're helping with, you know, the team to basically get that detail properly and issue out that site instruction, and away you go. So I think that's really cool. And that's, you know, it kind of goes into, like, you know, the training and the innovation that we're, you know, pushing for, you're pushing for through, again, so the user groups and cheerleading that and going on. And, you know, the need for industry-wide collaboration to support change and growth, you know, like, thoughts on that, like, how can we work together better, you know, again, you know.
My first thing, and it's kind of seem like I'm going to the end, but it really is the beginning. Embrace your failures. Embrace your failures. Celebrate them. Do not be ashamed that something you attempted didn't work. Celebrate the fact that you took that risk and that it didn't work, because, you know, there is success without failure, but is there true success without failure? Because what have you learned if you succeed instantly? Okay, great. It worked. Fantastic. I'm super happy about that. But when I fail, I get to grow. I get to learn. So I want people to bring that into the world by, like, not just continuing education and mentoring and sharing knowledge, but also that mentality about failure as well, because that is a huge part of all of this. Your education is failure's part of that. So, you know, getting into the education part. Okay, ask the question again, because I want to make sure that I don't get off track.
I think that was great. I thought that was really coming together. And you're absolutely right. You know, the way you opened it about failure, you're absolutely right. And again, lots of individuals, other podcasts that I listen to, and books and everything, like, you're right. Like, you know, it's like your stock market. You know, you're gonna have the failures, you're gonna have up and growth and stuff like that. And every little, you know, every step of the way, and you do that dip and everything. But that's the thing, when we kind of narrowly mine into this little tiny area, and I'm trying to explain this, you know, by words, because for the ones that are listening, but basically, as you're going through these things, you are going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to trip down a couple of steps, but then you're going to keep going up, and you're getting up, and then you're going to trip again, and maybe one day you're going to have a really bad day, you're going to have a bad month, right? You know, again, it doesn't matter if it's in design or whatever, you've just hit in a rut, you got a project that's just not coming, you got a bad contract, or whatever the case is, that things are not going really well. But again, you're going to start back climbing. And now if we zoom out, you know, we take 1,000 feet backwards and look at this picture of where you've come from. it's not perfect. It's not a rocket ship up. It's not how
Yeah.
it works. And, you know, if you never try anything, you never know. And that's the thing, like with job careers, with life, you know, like, you know, again, you know, you and I have kids and everything. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. It's like, well, have you ever done it? No. Well, let's try it out. And then holy smokes, it may be the newest, coolest thing, right? You know, maybe if you were petrified, I don't want to go scuba, I don't want to go scuba diving. Well, maybe you go scuba diving one time, you go try it in the pool and you're like, oh my goodness. And next thing you know it, this is your new passion. You don't know until you try. And yeah, you're going to fail. And sometimes failing sucks because it's going to be a financial burden. It's not going to be just like, oh, I failed. It's like, oh my goodness, I failed. And I'm hitting, you know, I'm starting pretty close to rock bottom, but you'll get there. And again, it's all about attitude and what you do. And that's kind of like what I'm hearing from you too, is just pushing. So you answered the question just fine. Come on. That was awesome.
All right.
But here's a good challenging thing is because again, right now, yeah, in SEMA Plus and everything, you got the whole group. Again, that's the architects, that's the engineers, the consultants, right? Then on the other side of the fences, there's the contractors. In all your experience with some of these user groups or what you doing or like the conversations in terms of this mentorship and growth, do you find that there's like a gap where we have both of them in the same room? You know, it's kind of, you know, it's,
Yeah. So I am part of the Autodesk Big Room, and they're the ones that are actually sponsoring and collaborating with me on my A Tip a Day project. So I have a very good relationship with them, but it is a unique user group because I do have a lot of people, BIM services in there, but there's a lot of contractors because the focus is ACC, and ACC Build is huge in there, and the Digital Builders podcast. So like very big over there. But I go to any of my other user forums, I don't think there's a single construction administration person in any of them. And I'm not saying there isn't. There could be, but not at the forefront, not of the ones that are answering questions, not of the ones that are engaging. But over on this one, they are so engaging. And it's actually what made me so much more passionate. I'm going to attribute a lot of this actually to the Big Room for me starting those relationships with the construction group. Yes, they were calling me to solve problems, but I realized that I had a lack of knowledge, that there was this wall. And I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
I think I need to address this. They're such a brilliant group of individuals who are extremely passionate and knowledgeable, that there aren't a lot of user groups out there for construction professionals. And to come across one where they were so engaging, and with the activities and the interactions, it really allows us to work together and get together. And so I wish I could see more of that. And I'm trying to take lessons that I'm learning with the Big Room, and I'm using it to evolve myself and to build those connections, to build those relationships with my construction team, because there is no reason they should be in the dark. Why are we not? They do talk. I'm not saying that it's a complete, like, before me, no one ever talked. It's just that I had never started that conversation. I had never started that relationship. So I'm putting the effort into it. That was a failure on my part. And am I going to sit there and never talk to them because I didn't talk to them before? No. I reached out and I said, hey, I have some questions. What do you do? And that's where it all began. So I really am excited to see kind of things evolve. And I hope, even with this, because, I'm BIM services, which isn't specifically construction. So maybe some new audience members might hear this or be like, who am I not connected with? It doesn't have to be your construction team. Maybe it's your procurement team. I'm not sure. You should have a conversation with them. We should all work together. Yeah. There's a reason it's called collaboration.
That's right. And I agree. And like I was a few weeks ago, I was on the Construction Brothers podcast with Tyler and Eddie. And I don't know if you've kind of checked them out. Really, great guys. They always publish and stuff.
Look it up.
But one thing that we talked about, we got on a good, went on a good roll but it is like the synergy between, like, I've been on jobs where it's like contractors, architects, and, it's just not cool. Right. But I've been on the projects where we are a team as one, right? And then the owner is such a great relationship when you can be on that thing. And yeah, there was mistakes and stuff like that. And you know, we had to pay for it, but we did it in a way that was business and professional. There wasn't emotions to it. And by having that synergy, you know, really, really, truly work together. We in this case, and it wasn't too crazy, but you know, it was a multi-million-dollar daycare project, and it was being built during the worst time during the supply chains and COVID. Like every day, like prices were going up. The big thing in the industry at the time for us in BC was distribution panels, right? So you couldn't even get, like before being a 3-month lead time, now it was like turning into 14 months. So, well, the reality is you can't energize your building to go for substantial. So you just hit a dead wall. And, you know, it just sucked. But this group managed to work. And then there was rooftop units. We couldn't get that. And then they were finding ones. And again, they're like, we need to review the shop drawings. We would jump onto it to make sure that things were moving, and they were being so proactive. And again, if you've got that relationship, you can see projects just, you know, just blossom, be amazing. And then at the end of the day, when you do wrap up the project, you do crack open that champagne and you are literally smiling, and you're not like grinding your teeth like, yeah, this is a good project. Like you guys came together. And I think that's a cool attitude. It's a great outlook, and it's the best way to do it. No, 100%.
Yep. And we need to connect as individuals, because we're going to work together again. The fact that you worked with that person once, a very strong chance, unless you leave the industry or change jobs or, you know, go somewhere that doesn't interact with that group of people, you're probably going to work with that individual again. Yeah. So would you rather that be pleasant and being able to share knowledge and learn from each other? Because again, that's what it's going to come down to. I need to learn to work with you. You need to learn to work with me. So that's how I look at every day, every conversation, because I know I learn something, multiple things every day. And people are like, oh, I haven't learned something new in like a week. It's like, how? I turn on my computer and I learn something new. I seek. Maybe that's my personality. You need to learn one thing, at bare minimum, every day. I
100%. I agree. And, you know, that brings us into retention, right? Retention of actual knowledge and everything. And one thing that, you know, the good old COVID did is it really forced a lot of people in retirement. A lot of guys in this, like more on the construction side, they were holding on. They were still making money. They were enjoying, they were having fun. Maybe they did less hours and hired their younger staff. And then COVID hit and they went, screw this, I'm done. Like and that really quickly escalated a lot of retirees overnight in that sense. And so, and the same thing with, you know, architects and consultants. The reality is people are retiring, new generations coming in. So addressing the knowledge gap between this, you know, what is your for any, and we have a lot of young architects that listen to this podcast. What would be your recommendation for a young architect trying to seek knowledge? Where are they going? Are they going to TikTok? Are they going to user groups? Where would you say?
Please don't go to social media. But not in a sense like don't go to social media. Like you have LinkedIn, you have that stuff, but TikTok is not going to have your answer. There are going to be professionals out there that do post on TikTok, but that's not coming up in your algorithm unless you put a lot of effort into it. Yeah. So, but in school, get connected to user groups now. You are having problems in school. You are trying to do your design. You're trying to like ace that test so that you can pass with good grades or whatever it is. Don't just go to Google. Go to user forums specializing in those topics and join multiple. Get connected to a community now, because the community that you grow now is going to support you in your future. Because the people that I have made friends with, the connections that I have made, those relationships you're forging, those are going to help you in your career. I have problems at least once a week that I'm messaging my Autodesk Expert Elite colleagues, because you know there's not a lot of us, but we specialize in certain fields, and I will message them saying, guys, what's going on with this? Can somebody help me? And then either they answer it or they send me somewhere else. I didn't get that from my career. I got that from joining user groups, from building my community, from building those relationships. So don't think that you have to wait to get a job. Start now. And then when you're looking for a job, you're going to have those people to be like, hey, this person's amazing. You should hire them. It's about building a family, but your professional family. And if I can give any advice to anybody, is build your professional family now, because, you know, some of the people I'm connected to now have been in the industry for 25, 30 years, so have I, but, are just like maybe 10 years older than I am. So I'm able to learn and grab their knowledge, speaking to them, reach out to these people. If they're on those forums, they're most likely willing to talk to you or message you or make you join a group with them so that you can get connected. Like, community is the biggest thing. But if you don't want a community and you want to do it on your own, there's success there. You're going to have to work a lot harder. Maybe you're cool with that. But it's so much better with people who care. So much better with... It's perfect.
I totally agree. Because, like, again, I'm dating myself many years ago.
That's good enough. We'll stick.
We'll stick to that. But at BCIT, they had an Autodesk user group meeting. Everything happened on once a month. And I got on my motorcycle, ripped out to the campus and got to meet. And at first, it's so intimidating. It's like anything. It's walking in a big room. These guys have been friends. They're joking their jokes. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But you got to know everything going. And eventually, as the second, the third, the fourth, you started meeting one-on-one. Everyone's very welcoming to that. But you're right. It's a new community. And it's the start of your network into your new career of architecture and design and all these things. And sure enough, the proof in it was, I did there. I got connected, and I already had my job, after school and everything. But there was one job I was just like, this isn't what I wanted to do. This is not what I glamored architecture to be. And then because of that user group connection, I get a call out of the blue from an old good friend, Dan McKinnon, and he's like, "What are you doing right now? Why don't you come work with me?" Right. And that was my introduction to becoming an Autodesk reseller at the time. And that opened up 1,000 different doors. We're meeting architects and training them and implementing Revit as a, early adopter. And then next thing you know, I was working from RCNA, and the rest of the whole history of my career kind of blossomed from it. So it is, like I said, it is a family and on its own, and it's a network opportunity. And still these days, I still, meet all these people. It's all part of your career. It's all your stepping stones and your journey and 100%. What do you think about firms and documenting and transferring this knowledge? Again, there's all this mentorship. You're doing it already, but right now it's just kind of you're doing one-on-one times. Are you doing any way to document, to put it into a standards of protocol, an SOP document, right? And that are you, so it kind of gets retained on some intranet or, what I mean? What's the best way? That was kind of like with CA, there's just not a lot of knowledge out there. That's why I started the podcast. What are you guys doing as a firm to kind of help retain that knowledge and make some kind of documentation to give it to young people when they start,
we are working on documentation, and it comes with passionate individuals because, you can tell somebody their job is to make SOPs for procedures, but you need somebody who recognizes that there is a lack of resources and a passion to be able to, actually want to sit down and create content that is educational but engaging, because that is very difficult. So I agree that, making it standard procedure to have this documentation, but picking the right people, and maybe look at the people who are showing that interest, asking about the information. Where is this? Why can't I find this? Oh, I found this. And they're the ones out there sharing. If you're going to designate those roles to somebody, make it somebody who's demonstrating to you that they would be interested in doing it. Maybe they don't think they can. So we're starting that and just going through our procedures, right? We have a certain way that we geo-reference our Revit models. And there is a way. You used to have to take it like Revit from ECC. You had to take it off the cloud to do it. But there is a way to do it cloud-based, and just making sure that people understand the different ways to navigate the software, because not that information isn't actually very easy to find. It's quite difficult. So making sure that we have consistent information, because something I tell people is regardless of the software you use, regardless of where you came from, your skills or background, I shouldn't be able to tell the difference between your drawing, my drawing, and Joe's over there drawing. I don't care if you're using Revit, AutoCAD, SketchUp, and MicroStation in the same project. I shouldn't be able to tell the difference between any of them. When I put it into a PDF, it should just look the exact same. So making sure that those resources are available. So we have a lot of that documentation, but there's also specialties that people hadn't stopped to consider that if you lost that knowledge, then how does the next person proceed? Think about that. If this person leaves, retires, quits, whatever, hits by a bus because things happen.
Those buses, I swear.
Those buses, jeez, or those, what's the joke? The one with is it the train or the trolley? The trolley equation. So if you've got an old man on one track and you've got like a bunch of kids on the other, what do you do with the trolley?
That's
and everybody
horrible.
will, yeah, but you know, the answer is even more morbid. You're the one who goes with the trolley. Why would you sacrifice other people? You know, almost being willing to sacrifice yourself. But everybody has their own opinion about that. That question. So, you know, think of that in the same way that you're doing your team. You're retaining that knowledge. Like, if you don't have this knowledge, and people retire, it's gone. What are the new people going to have? Like, don't be the trolley that goes off the track and nobody knows what to do with it. Make sure that you have those resources, and then ask those people in those weird jobs, what do you even do? How do you even navigate these projects? And then document that. And like, maybe you have a call with them, turn on a transcript scriber, and let them just talk. There's so many ways to retain knowledge. Those people who are retiring, maybe like if you know they're going to retire in a year, you set up like bi-weekly meetings with them and you start asking them questions and you start transcribing it. I don't know what you need to do, but there is no excuse in our day and age with our technology and our availability that any of this information should be lost.
I 100% agree. Absolutely. And I was, what are you guys doing for like mentorship programs? Like I was at AI Aspire and they were talking about like, this group would meet once every week and have lunch or something like that. Or one of the clients I work with in Vancouver, every odd lunch, they'll do like, they'll talk CA, right? And the kind of lit and that kind of stuff. What are you guys doing?
So we have a mentorship program, and I am currently a mentor. I haven't had a mentee yet, so we're only on our second session. They started it just after I had showed up, and I instantly signed up. I actually asked if I could go mentee, and they're like, "No, you need to go mentor." I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, whatever." So I applied for that, but you have to be connected to the right person, and and I held no grudges. You didn't choose me. That's perfectly fine, because maybe my values didn't align to where you wanted to go. That is not the purpose of being a mentor. I am available if needed, and if not needed, by all means. No hard feelings, because that's not the purpose of it. And on Monday, we had what was called a coffee chat for International Women's Month for this year. Yep. And I met with 2 colleagues from work, and we just had a great conversation about, struggles for women in the industry, and just had a great natural talk between the 3 of us. And we weren't solving world problems, but it was nice to be like, we are all different at different stages in our careers, but there's a lot of similarities. It was humbling to learn that you're not alone. Other people are dealing with this. And that was really what it was about. Just, hearing each other's stories and connecting with new individuals, because you're building a new relationship. Yep. They're adding to my community. And so SEMA Plus is very passionate about opening up those questions regardless of the topic and making them accessible for everybody at the company, and making it a safe environment for us to be able to connect with each other. And you're not just connecting with another designer. You might connect with a director. You might connect with, a project manager. So there are people across the company, because people always wonder why I have no problem talking to anybody. I don't care if you're the CEO. I don't care if you're the president. I care. Congratulations. Good for you. Or the custodian, or whatever you are. We're all human. We're all individuals, and we're all just trying to get our job done. So, just because your value is different than my value doesn't mean it's less. Actually, a lot of them, especially custodians, everybody high five your custodian, because their value is more than us in a lot of cases, because your building wouldn't be able to run and function without, your facilities management team. So I got a soft spot for them, because it's an amazing group of people. And why connect with everyone? Because you're just an average dude that has this job. You're going home to your family. You're having your life, but this is just you professionally. Wonderful. Why do I have no problem talking to that CEO? Because you're just a person. You're just doing something a little bit differently than me, but you're still interesting, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. But again, it's all the assembly line, right? Like look at an average car, everyone plays an important role, right? Like I said, the person, even the custodian, the person that's keeping the place clean, so no one's tripping, that they're doing their job, they're doing it really well in that sense. You have the guy that's painting, putting the doors on, someone that's putting the door frame on, that final decal, that attention to detail. There's that one individual that's doing that, and you're right. It's all part of bringing together and designing and bringing the right product at the end of the day. And that's the buildings that we do, right? Everything goes into it. And everyone plays a role. And I know like a younger generation gets really fed up because they just want to be part of, the big fun, the schematic, and they don't want to get into the details. And it's like, well, that's where, that's okay. Being a part of those details is where it all comes together. It's all about where that molding is going to terminate into, this piece of millwork to ensure that you don't open the door and you're hitting piece of millwork. I think all those details is you may not feel like, it's worth or whatever, but it is. It's you bringing it to the light, whether you're at the beginning of the project or you're the guy that's being the field reviewer and you're ripping around site and ensuring that they're following the drawings. Everyone's playing their part, and that's so important. It's so critical, and it's so needed. And I actually did a talk a couple of weeks ago, and it's all taking pride in your work. It totally is. And you said that, you already said that today and just re-expressed it. So no, thank you for saying it. Cause 100%. It's all in the process. And
we're all in this together.
We are,
right?
We literally are in that boat. Yeah. So here you go. Cause we're coming up to the hour in a sense, but your soapbox moment, your 30 seconds elevators pitch, what does the industry need to hear right now?
Be open-minded, be willing to ask questions, share your knowledge, regardless if you think it has value. You don't know who's going to find value in it. And there is no responsibility on your part or their part to replicate what you've done, but to hopefully evolve and grow from it for you to learn yourself. And, if somebody calls you, they're not calling you because it's a good day. They're calling you because it's a bad day. And what if you were in that position? What would you do? There's a reason why if you call me, the first thing I say is, how can I make your day better? Because that matters. And at the end of the day, I want you to go home and be happy. And I want to go home and be happy. So, I know this is a compassionate thing, but I think it is needed in our industry because there used to be a very clear divide. And I want people to, be open-minded and, be willing to see things through other people's perspective. You don't have to change your mind, but you need to be open to new ideas. So I know that's kind of like a very wide thing and maybe different than most people would say, but, we are all just trying to do a job and we're just trying to do the best that we can. So I take a lot of heart into making sure that I don't make someone's day worse because I couldn't deal with that.
Well said. Well said. That was awesome. I think that's an awesome note to end on this one. So I love it. Absolutely. Thank you for being on the show, Kristina. Where can people find you? Again, a lot of places, but where can they find you?
So start at LinkedIn. That's just the easiest place to go. I am very active on the Autodesk community blog as well. I write articles for them when I have time. I'm also a board of director for Augie Inc. and I write articles for Augie Magazine. But I post all of that on LinkedIn, and that's just my professional location to find anything that I'm doing. And if you're sitting there and you have a tip or trick about some Autodesk software that you are passionate about, look into the Tip a Day project. It is a community-driven initiative, and it's meant to share knowledge, and it's meant to bring people together. And that's my entire goal for 2025 is just opening those doors for more people. So if you would like to know more, just head over to LinkedIn.
Nice. Oh, thank you. Yeah. And again, appreciate being on the show. We're going to definitely do this again. I'm hoping to go to Nashville for Autodesk University 2025. Yes. So waiting for that call to speakers moment. So I'll definitely be applying, but we'll most likely be out there. And I know you will be there, of course, and we'll be pulling all the podcast gear with me on the planes. I'm going to get all checked through security. That's just the way they love doing it. We always do that process. Yep. But in wrapping this episode up to all the listeners and everything, this has been fantastic. It's great mentorship, lots of resources for everyone to go to. And I think that's very powerful. And But yeah, no, thank you so much again. So in saying that, last but not least, until next time, architects keep designing, contractors keep making those blueprints a reality. We'll see you on the next one.